Hello, this is Anne. This video, in some ways, should be the very first in the series on healing your inner child. But the reason it isn't is it's conceptual and somewhat abstract. So I'm listing it as a later video. However, it provides the foundation of the inner child work that I do and the work that I do with MAP, Manifest All Possibilities, in working with the various parts created from trauma up to years 5 and 6. The two perspectives that I want to discuss is one, the psychological emotional one, and the second is the spiritual one. Ultimately, the end point is to ends up in the same place, but one is clear about the path. Let's start with the psychological emotional one. As I've said in other videos, none of us escape having our hearts broken. None of us escapes the trauma of feeling separate from what we had that gave us comfort, a sense of protection, feeling safe, and be cared for and loved. This is what we needed for many of our young years because we were weak and vulnerable. We weren't a mammal that was ready to go, kind of like horses and other four-footed creatures. They're pretty good. They come out and in no time they're ready to grow and make it. But humans are different. And in the dependency we have on our parents and our whoever is there to caretake us, we are subject to neglect, to being forgotten, trauma being created by changes in the family situation or the current of a dysfunctional family where there's violence, fighting, and much craziness where any young child doesn't get what he or she needs. So from the psychological, emotional point of view, we end up wanting to have what we had before, which is a sense of connection that makes us feel safe and loved. And it's no surprise that the paths that we take in adulthood is aimed to getting those. The security and protection of a career and well-paying job, or love and relationship, and maybe for some, as is represented in career, feeling totally acknowledged, accepted, appreciated, cared for. In any case, this is what our motive intentions are as adults. And when we haven't done the psychological, emotional work, taking care of the wounds of the heart that happened early in life, the parts that were created, or the inner children that got left behind, show up in our adult life to let us know that we're not whole. We need integration of many parts to have the energy for life that wholeness provides. And this is the meaning of a journey to healing your heart. Psychologically or emotionally, we need to face the results of the wounding from early childhood. And as I explain in other videos, what some of these show up as are beliefs of limitations. Beliefs that you're not good enough, you're defective, You're not lovable. You don't deserve more. So besides having to deal with these beliefs, there are limiting strategies that get created by this young self with limited experiences. And the strategies may be, one, I'm going to kind of withdraw from the world. I'm going to be an introvert and keep to myself. And this, the young child believes, is a safety strategy, protecting him or herself from being hurt again, by being hurt by rejection or any kind of abandonment. The another strategy is becoming a perfectionist. I am going to do everything perfectly so that I know that being perfect, I'm of value and people will respect and give me the kind of regard that I'm hungry for. But those of you who know perfectionism know its downfalls as well. Another strategy that people can adopt is becoming a people pleaser, always seeking approval. Never mind what you need in terms of practical and emotional things. You are so hell-bent on paying attention to other people's needs, satisfying them, make them feel good. Because the strategy is only then can you get what you want, the love that you want. But the truth of the matter is, it's much more complicated than that. And by not taking care of yourself, by paying attention to the needs of others, you really can't move forward. So these are some examples of strategies that get adopted and run the adult. And these need to be discovered, and the source of their creation needs to be resolved. This is the psychological work that we do with inner child work, by being with the young children left in childhood in aloneness with the pain in their heart, kept there to keep you from being overwhelmed, to help you survive. It's also the work of the MAP process, where we find the different ways the young parts participate in different experiences and hold negativity and pain that keeps them separate from the adult. So the adult doesn't have the gift of their energy, wisdom, and information, but rather the parts operate as obstacles, parts that show up that help you procrastinate because they have fear, or help you not trust because their trust was broken, and so forth. So the ultimate intent of healing these young hearts is to neutralize the defenses that were created, the defenses that are protecting the heart from further hurt. And the defenses may do that, but ultimately, because they only are based on limited information, protect the heart too well, and you go into adulthood without a healed heart. And that creates struggles, creates unhappiness. Ultimately, in the inner child work and in the MAP work that I do, I'd like to get to the point where the lies that the young child believed, that she or he isn't worthy, not important, and so forth, and that the strategies about the unfriendly world and broken trust, all of that are dealt with so that the heart can become whole. It's like each part has a piece of the broken heart. And you can't operate well as an adult with a broken heart, with these pieces unavailable for healing. So psychologically, you do the work to bring the pieces of heart to become whole and exchange the lies that were accepted then with the truth of who you are, the truth that you kind of knew before separation began, a truth that is deep in your heart, and that's that you are innocent, not to blame for any of this, and to reclaim your innocence. And that innocence remembers the truth that you are spirit, first of all, in essence, and that there is a source, a connection of love, peace, and truth deep in your heart, but you've forgotten that. So that's the aim of the inner child work. And in the map work that I do, I exchange the disempowering beliefs and strategies with empowering ones based on the young child's original innocence and connection to spirit, love, and truth. So that's the roadmap for the emotional psychological journey. Now, for the spiritual one. The spiritual one begins with the original idea of separation. For some of you, the metaphor comes from leaving the garden where everything was provided for by God. Or for those who come from A Course in Miracles and One with God, the beginning comes from the mad idea where the idea was, what would happen? Who would I be if I were apart from God? And in that instant, the world of forms, the world of ego was created, separation, such that we humans find in the lifetimes that we've had, starting with separation. And only for those who do the spiritual work do they realize that the ultimate goal of any spiritual work is returning to the oneness that we are, that we started out with, that we've forgotten. And we return to that oneness in various ways. As Spirit says, there are a billion paths for that return. But from my point of view, it is to find the love in your life, in the world around you, in the people that you see, finding that everything and everyone provides are a channel for the love that is constant. Spirit, who is love, is always here. The divine is always here to support us. But we have closed the doors, turned a deaf ear, have blinded ourselves. But many of us can see the love showing up in babies, in the love that comes out of our hearts as we delight in that connection with babies. We're channeling that love. Or when we're with a person, a friend, a family member, a grandparent, or maybe a supervisor, some compassionate person who was able to be with you in presentness and attended to you in such a way that you felt that connection, that divine connection of oneness. The small cells weren't there, and you could meet each other feeling that connection and feeling very different. And there are many of you who know that experience in being in nature, hugging trees, gazing at flowers and lost in the beauty of the natural world is another way that divine love flows out. And when we can be aware of that, appreciate, be in gratitude for that expression of love, we taste of it more and more, and we begin to live in that world more and more. For me, I use the voice of the Holy Spirit to awaken from the dream of separation. And I appreciate at least twice a day hearing the words, being touched by the words, feeling the vibration and energy of that presence coming from the words that help me remember that I am not this small self. I am not this body through which I speak and operate in this world. I am much more. I am love. I am divinity. I am oneness. This is what is my foundation. I'm not totally living in it. I get caught up every day in the insanity of the virus, which on March 31st, we're in the middle of chaos and insanity in our world. And as many people have posted, many wise words were said. We can get caught up in the chaos, our fear and our anger and our despair, or we can remember what is of value, sense of connection, caring and loving. And if we can stay there, we can bring spirit more and more embodied into the world. So the spiritual path starts with the idea of separation. When we had that mad idea, Spirit tells us that we were forgiven. Nothing really changed. We just got lost in the world of forms, in the world of ego. And that connection with oneness is always here. So notice how both journeys, psychological or spiritual, end up in the same place, starting with separation and ending with the gift of oneness. If you have any questions, let me know.